Jared Leto, Oscar-winning actor, behind the fame and glamour, dark rumors about his behavior have been circulating for decades.
Everyone knew that Jared Leto was a monster. And I can prove it.
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto is an interesting man.
Questionable behavior from actor-musician Jared Leto.
For nearly 20 years, rumors have followed Jared Leto like a shadow.
It was clear that Jared Leto was no longer bringing out the crowds.
The Joker is somebody who doesn't really respect things like personal space or boundaries.
We gotta do something about Jared Leto.
So do you think he thought he'd get away with it?
Well, he has, right? He has gotten away with it.
The recent news story about the allegations against Jared Leto calls his behaviour a dark secret. But was it, though? Because surely, for something to be a secret, people have to, not know about it. Otherwise, it's just something we're all pretending isn't happening until it becomes convenient to act like we never heard anything at all and dump all the information at once under the protection of anonymity. Jared Leto, being a serial pest and a detestable human being, was as much of a secret as the same charges were for, say, Russell Brand. And much like when Brand was exposed, and this time people actually took it seriously as opposed to all the other times, the reaction I had to hearing that Jared Leto was a wrong'un was, wait, didn't we already know this?
Why him?
Who?
Him? Jared? Beloved Oscar-winning actor Jared Leto is, in your opinion, the problem here? He's certainly not helping. I mean, when was the last time he carried a successful blockbuster? Remember Morbius?
Have sex. Excess.
I mean, there was an expose literally last year that definitively proved this. After the whole making a creepy predator cult on a Croatian island thing, where 9 women came forward with their stories after loads of stories before, or the time that James Gunn just casually told everyone who Jared Leto was, or the time Jared Leto's co-stars hinted at it, or the hundreds of allegations you can find from various people on the internet, from Reddit posts to groupie forums of all things, all together forming a long list of corroborating stories that suggest that, yes, just like with Russell Brand, everyone around Jared Leto, everyone working with Jared Leto knew, and they either protected him, were forbidden from saying anything, or scared into silence.
What about Jared Leto? Is he too weird to hang out with?
He brought me to my first club when I guess I was 14. I was,
Is that appropriate?
How much older was he than you?
Much.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't know. At the time, he seemed ancient. I was 14, he was 21 or something.
That is ancient to a 14-year-old.
Yeah. I think it must be strange to be that beautiful, actually. I think after a certain point, it can be dangerous or an impediment.
And it's so weird, too, for a 14-year-old to be making out with a 21-year-old, even though it's on camera.
What's the love life looking like?
Love is war, as some people say.
Hollywood does this a lot, but it's not just a Hollywood problem. I have seen similar behaviour in academia and, to a lesser extent, YouTube, just in my own life. Hell, a story not dissimilar to this one basically just brought down the Prime Minister of my country, something that could have been avoided completely if Sir Keir Starmer had the foresight to not appoint a man who called Jeffrey Epstein his very best pal to a senior position and made his protege his right-hand man. But it's not as if he didn't have reason to think that people would choose not to notice the predator at his side. After all, Jeffrey Epstein's very best pal co-hosted the election broadcast in the UK in 2024, and we all knew who he was for way longer than that. Plus, another person with boatloads of extremely disturbing allegations is currently the President of the United States, so is it any wonder people feel free to act with impunity? Well, I suppose not, but you're only safe from this kind of scrutiny if you are still seen as useful by those in power or those with the money. If you continue to earn, you can continue to be as monstrous as you like, it seems. Luckily for us, then, and the many victims who deserve justice, Morbius, He-Man, and Tron 3, I think it was, all flopped. But it should make you very angry that this was hidden until now, and not even hidden well, hidden in plain sight. We all knew until Jared Leto was no longer one of Hollywood's golden boys.
Please welcome Oscar winner Jared Leto.
That's quite enough of that, thank you very much.
Money should not take precedent over the safety of the hundreds of women and girls that this monster has preyed on over the years. But as long as Hollywood is run for profit, are these inhumane and terrifying cover-ups inevitable? Is the profit motive in art even compatible with human safety and dignity? Or are we cursed to live in a world of open secrets, of powerful men throwing women's bodies aside over and over again until we allow art to exist just for art's sake? And would that even solve the problem? We'll get back to that. But first, if your reaction to this deluge of information was confusion or even disbelief, you missed decades of exposés, rumours, and on and off attempts to tell the world the truth about Jared Leto's crimes against many, many, many women and girls. And you definitely missed this last story, and by that I mean the BBC one that just broke, the story that appears to finally have been the straw that broke the camel's back.
He would be texting with girls. There would probably, typically on a given day, be about 2 girls that might stop by. He might make a sort of rude remark. Maybe it might be, "You're a dirty girl, aren't you?" There was one particular instance that I clearly remember where a girl had to be dropped off by her parents. This particular girl was very young looking, and Jared would have been in his early 30s. They took off to the bedroom. When they returned, she had to contact her parents to come pick her up. Probably only an hour had gone by. She just kind of sat there.
Jared Leto, long before he abused his fame to gain access to vulnerable people and take advantage of his fans, was born in 1971 in Louisiana to a troubled family. He was a child when his parents divorced, and still a child when his father left Jared's life permanently and by his own hand. Your memories of this man will probably pick up decades after this, knowing him for his acting or his music. He was, of course, the lead singer of one-hit wonder rock band 30 Seconds to Mars, and an Oscar and Golden Globe winning actor.
I'll be a beautiful angel.
Leto did what many people have done in Hollywood, Eddie Redmayne, and won awards for portraying an experience he will never understand and subsequently insulted, while actual trans women struggled to get any work at all in acting. Outside of that role, Jared Leto was starred in dumb and boring movies like Fight Club and American Psycho, but more importantly, he starred in the unbelievably hype, unforgettable masterpiece known only as Morbius, a film that not only saw Leto whisper, "It's Morbin time," then proceeding to morb for the entire second half of the movie, but also had actual good actor Matt Smith moving like this.
Have sex, my hands are yes.
On the 29th of July, 2026, the BBC released a documentary titled Jared Leto, Hollywood's Dark Secret, in which 10 women came forward with detailed and disturbing allegations against Leto. This is the story that finally broke through. 4 women have accused Oscar-winning actor and 30 Seconds to Mars frontman Jared Leto, with the alleged offences having taken place when they were teenagers. One of the women says Leto SA'd her in a motel bathroom when she was 17. Another says the Hollywood star threatened her with a similar crime when she was 19 and had been unexpectedly left alone with him in a hotel room. A third describes how she lay with the star in California when she was 17. Leto shrugged off a conversation about the age of consent being 18 in the US state, she says. The fourth woman describes Leto making repeated, explicit phone calls with her when she was 16, On at least one occasion, she says he suggested that they should consummate the relationship. She was subsequently sent a non-disclosure agreement to prevent her from talking about her relationship with Leto, which the BBC has seen. However, she refused to sign. 4 further women also say they received strange and often predatory phone calls from Leto when they were younger. And this is not the first time Leto has been accused of these exact things. The BBC reporting I just quoted is itself following up on a similar story from last year, June 2025, in Airmail, along with the many stories you can easily find online with a simple Google search of women giving their testimonies. The Airmail story opens with what this dickhead/actor did on a private Croatian island, forming what would be later known as the cult of Jared Leto, and identifies 9 victims. But it goes deeper. This Airmail story is, again, partially a follow-up to a story out of the New York Post in September 2005, the opening line of which was, "Jared Leto likes 'em young." The article, "Hey Leto girl, Jared shows he's a team player," details his pursuit of essentially child stars. This was over 20 years ago. The rabbit hole keeps going. Story after story, victim after victim ignored by people who saw an Academy Award and a Golden Globe on this man's CV and saw $ when they should have seen red.
What was this theme that he kind of stuck with, wanting to see me as a younger girl? And it was either pretend to be a little girl or my little girl.
Everyone who gave Leto a job in the last few years, everyone who used him for advertising campaigns, everyone who worked with him knew, to some extent or another, Jared Leto's true colours were an open secret. Like Russell Brand before him, his behaviour was so open and so frequent that it was unignorable, and the studios that kept him on knew about these allegations, kept quiet about the allegations, and managed the allegations and their fallout. Because to for-profit companies like Disney, Sony, and MGM and many others, the safety of women and girls, mostly girls in Leto's case, is much less important than their ability to use the star power of a cult-leading psychopath to make mountains and mountains of money.
Hello, I like money.
Everyone knew. I knew, and I'm just a stupid YouTuber with only a passive knowledge of the industry living an ocean away from the man. I even know people who heard about this personally. Hell, even Hollywood director James Gunn knew that Jared Leto was a monster and let it slip on several occasions. Such as in 2012, when Gunn tweeted and then deleted, "Driving home from Vegas, trading stories about what a dick Jared Leto is." Or the time that in 2015, James Gunn streamed on Periscope, a platform that no longer exists, which is quite fitting because James Gunn got the boss call straight after the stream, and the video of that stream no longer exists. According to sources who watched it at the time, Gunn discussed the rumours about Leto's allegations, including incidents where Leto was involved with underage women. The only traces of this incident now are the articles recounting that it happened and James Gunn's Instagram apology. Sorry to all of you around the world who saw my Ambien-fueled Periscope session last night at 3 AM. Yes, I erased it. The most famous incident of Gunn letting the rumours spill into the public was, again, on Twitter, when former child actor Dylan Sprouse attempted to expose Jared Leto as many people before him have tried, saying, "Yo, Jared Leto, now that you've slid into the DMs of every female model aged 18 to 25, what would you say your success rate is?" To which Gunn replied, "He starts at 18 on the internet?" So, if a famous director knew, and several famous actors, and they kept saying these things, there is no denying that everyone in the industry also knew, or knew someone that knew, that could find out very, very quickly. They chose to protect him. As for what they were protecting him from,
Etta is one of 5 women I spoke to who received strange calls from Leto.
Rumours about Leto's misconduct, often with those who were concerningly young, have been circulating for over a decade online. So many rumours on so many websites that at some point, even though a lot of these are anonymised, they became impossible to ignore. In 2015, Jared Leto's co-star on My So-Called Life, Claire Danes, talked to Howard Stern about how Leto brought her to her first club when she was 14 and he was in his 20s. The rumours circulating online track with this account and the other ones that came out after, and much worse, with Leto dating people extremely young, doing the crimes you will expect from him by now to them, picking out teenagers at concerts to bring backstage, bringing teenagers to seedy hotels, making these teenagers sign NDAs, and that's not even mentioning the whole ass cult he started. Every few years, a new story outing Jared Leto is released, and every time, he just kept on going, getting huge roles, starring in movies both average and horrible, and leaving a trail of victims in his wake. Everyone knew, even journalists knew, and tried to take him down, even at rags like the New York Post. But Hollywood kept hiring him anyway. Hollywood kept protecting him. Like many before him, the film industry decided that Jared Leto was too much of an asset to risk admitting that they'd heard the stories, and so they kept pretending that they hadn't. But they definitely had. He was not the first to receive this treatment, and he will not be the last to receive this treatment. Because counter to what right-wing ghouls on this platform would have you believe, Me Too did not, in fact, go too far. We knew about him then, too, and so did the industry. And after media giants and serial predators such as Harvey Weinstein's heads rolled, the industry closed ranks and protected its remaining money-making monsters to protect its profits. Hollywood knew that Jared Leto was a monster, and they hired him anyway, over and over again, choosing to endanger women and girls and create more victims over and over again. You get the point. Jared Leto was notorious for this behaviour. His nature was an open secret, and that's not even getting into how he runs this strange cult out of a former US military airbase, or that Jeffrey Epstein sings his praises in the Epstein files, or, the actual cult he ran on an island in Croatia. Josip Broz Tito, the people call for you to return and banish this monster from his cult predator island to the island he truly belongs to. Jared Leto, we're bringing back Goli Otok just for you. Unsurprisingly, this, along with the decades of horrendous rumours and years of written exposés, some in major papers, that was somehow swept under the rug, was met with, at best, disbelief. I think Jared Leto wants to be Jesus Christ and wants you and everyone else on Earth to believe that he is a messiah of some sort. The cult of Jared Leto. This is cult level shit. For Jared, he actually wants this to be true, and he wants that perception to be real because it's self-aggrandizing for him. And considering the kind of power he wielded and the sort of things he was regularly getting away with, maybe he did think of himself this way. He certainly seems to have believed that he was untouchable. And when people believe that they can't be taken down, that nothing can ever stop them, they don't tend to hide what they're doing. Sometimes they do the opposite. Think about how Richard Nixon recorded so much of his shady activity, for example. Or how Jeffrey Epstein recorded, well, everything.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable.
Were these people invincible? Well, clearly not. You see, people like this are only protected for as long as they are still seen as useful by those holding the power. Once they are seen not as an asset but a liability, the weight of their sins can be turned against them, often by the same people who covered them up, or even helped make those sins possible. And let's be honest, what has Jared Leto done recently that's made Hollywood the amount of money they were expecting from an Academy Award-winning actor? Playing the worst on-screen Joker of all time? Being the main reason that thousands of nerds didn't go and see the apparently quite good Masters of the Universe movie? At a certain point, the cost of protecting this predator outweighed the money that he was bringing in. Jared Leto may in fact find that he can morb no more. Morbing time is over, unless of course they decide to ignore the allegations once again and pretend this article didn't happen. It's happened before, multiple times. It's gonna happen again.
That was Kevin Spacey in July 2023 after being found not guilty of...
Hollywood loves predators. The number of actors alone whose horrific behaviour was an open secret, not just within the industry, but among the general public, let alone producers and directors, is staggering. For years, everyone who was even tangentially related in film, for example, knew the kind of unforgivable crimes that Kevin Spacey was up to, while he starred in some of the most widely acclaimed movies of all time, some of which have aged very badly because of these allegations.
Baby, your call. Time to make a big boy decision.
Although the fact that someone who probably knew about all of these allegations against Spacey directed these scenes is somehow less embarrassing than Kevin Spacey taking his notorious nonce-ass to the Balkans to star as war criminal, shower denier, and first president of the modern state of Croatia, Franjo Tuđman.
Recognize an independent Croatian state, the Democratic Republic of Croatia.
We knew for years that Bryan Singer was doing horrible things too. I remember since I was a teenager hearing these rumours while he kept getting gigs. And of course, who can forget Harvey Weinstein, protected for decades, his name on so many credits, whose reign of terror was such an open secret, people joked about it openly in award ceremonies, in public, on stage. For years.
Congratulations, you 5 ladies no longer have to pretend to be attracted to Harvey Weinstein.
He was one of very few people who actually saw lasting consequences for his crimes out of so many people accused during the height of the Me Too movement and the following years. And unfortunately, if the industry had decided they needed him, they would have found a way to rehabilitate him too. Hollywood closes ranks when it wants to protect someone they deem as an asset. Whether it's because they're a moneymaker, because they're well connected, or just because they're friends with people in charge, part of the old boys club that the movie industry, and let's be honest, most other industries and even public sectors have in their core at the top. Structures that protect dangerous and predatory men from being held accountable for their behaviour, for any number of reasons, and deem women, or men, or girls, or boys that expose these men as disposable. In fact, they will chase people out of the industry for daring to speak up about one of their golden boys, as Weinstein famously threatened to do to multiple victims countless times for years with no consequences until the industry just could not hide it anymore. Now, I don't think they'd have anything to gain from trying to rehabilitate Jared Leto. He doesn't seem to have much of a fan base anymore outside of a ghost of an international super nonce, and arch-transphobe Tracy-Ann Oberman. But if he were more talented, if he were the man that Hollywood clearly thought he was, they might well try. After all, I still walk past billboards with Johnny Depp on them. He's still huge, he's not going away. In fact, if anything, he got more of a dedicated fan base after his accusations, because he orchestrated a humiliation ritual for his victim and made a show of it for everyone to see, and they gobbled it up as entertainment. And Depp, as a very talented and convincing actor, was believable enough in his performance to many that Amber Heard is the one who struggles to find new roles now, and not the man responsible for her pain. So, this is clearly a pattern. A star makes a splash on the screen. Studios make boatloads of money. Star turns out to be an awful human being, but getting rid of this star might mean that executives make fewer boatloads of money, so they hide the behaviour. They tell people to stay in separate rooms, or to not approach the star alone, or at certain times, or never let him meet your teenage daughters. They sign NDAs. They hire rooms for seedy deeds, and cover up evidence that comes out. If a journalist prints the story, they close ranks and agree to pretend that nothing ever happened. This has happened over and over again. And over again just for Jared Leto, but he is just the latest example to hit the headlines for at least the third time. So is there any way to stop this? Well, there are things that we could do if we were genuinely interested in making the film industry a safer place for women and girls, if we were genuinely interested in protecting all people from predators, if we were genuinely interested in stopping people from getting so rich and powerful that they can abuse that fame and notoriety to prey on people and hide the evidence, or simply just move past it. No movie star should be considered too big to fail, least of all Jared fucking Leto.
Remember Morbius? A beloved cultural artifact. He was probably the worst actor to ever play the Joker. Don't say that around the Snyderheads.
These predators, many of them, simply do not see women as people, nor do they believe that their victims are people if they are not women. But women get this more than any other group, so they're quite relevant. They are seen as disposable. They are objects, to be used up and thrown away. We had a smidgen of pop feminism come into society a decade ago. This was not enough. If Jared Leto calls himself a feminist and does the same thing, it cures nothing. If he believes that women deserve the right to vote and should be paid the same as men and be allowed to do the same things, and then he does that very crime again, it does not solve this issue. Girl boss feminism is not enough. It was never enough. It was always quite stupid. A truly liberatory feminism is necessary. Dare I say, perhaps a Marxist feminism. A feminism that truly reckons with the exploitation of women in society, that reckons with how the traditional patriarchal structure of the nuclear family, despite all the progress we claim to have made, still forces women into a role of subservience to men, invalidates unpaid labour still often done by these women as well as doing their full-time jobs, reckons with how women are still treated as commodities, to be bought, sold, and used, especially by powerful men, in a world that claims to have long since moved past that, and yet produces Jared Leto's and Jeffrey Epstein's and Harvey Weinstein's. A marker of power is being able to use people this way, to treat people, especially women, as disposable, to buy them to use.
I also brought other girls, I brought my friends, underage as well to him.
Part of solving this is ending the mechanisms by which people like Leto or Weinstein gain and then maintain power. To put it in a glib way, this means, for a start, ending the old boys club. Now by this I do not mean the 2010s era more women, drone pilots, girl boss feminism stuff. That's a dead end, and I am against bosses in general, girl or not. And I think anyone who thought girl boss feminism was genuinely the answer to society's problems, even if they weren't a socialist, should have been put off the concept by the way that fascist politicians like Giorgia Meloni, Marine Le Pen, Sanae Takaichi, and Alice Weidel have leveraged the idea of women in power being a progressive force to push for genuinely Hitlerite politics all over the world. However, the film industry, as with many aspects of modern capitalist society, is essentially run by a small number of CEOs, shareholders, and executives. They have the final say-so. Nothing people on the ground say or do matters if it goes against the wishes of these people at the top and the golden calf they worship, by which I mean money.
Hello, I like money.
The people working in this industry should have a much greater say in how it is run. They should have stronger unions, they should have democratic control, they should be able to advocate for themselves in much more profound ways. In fact, artists should be able to make the art that they want. They should be in control. The creatives should choose how the industry works and not the executives. When all art is reduced to how much money it makes, it loses so much of its humanity. But even before that, just with a bit more democratic control, with much more leverage, much more advocacy able to be done, when someone is targeted by a Jared Leto or a Harvey Weinstein, they should be able to act with less fear, because currently they know there is a chance when they come out with this stuff that their careers will be ruined. They will be unemployed, they will never work in this town again, as people say. In fact, preferably, there would be no CEOs or shareholders at all. Art should not be a for-profit endeavour. Now, this is much easier said than done, especially in the film industry, since making movies is so expensive, and rich benefactors in the state aren't exactly innocent in Leto-style crimes, and banks aren't exactly known for giving out millions of dollars in loans just because you have a sick-ass movie idea, no matter how sick-ass it is.
I mean, because I want the movie to be big, right? You know? And like a box office smash, and we want to put like a lot of meat in the seats.
But the profit motive genuinely devalues art, and I think we have to come to terms with this. I believe that the profit motive is anti-human in this respect. By necessity, it dilutes artists' visions, it prevents people from creating the work in their soul, from expressing their truest self, and instead makes them consider first and foremost whether people will pay lots and lots of money to see it. This is a problem all over the arts. This is the major problem with, say, the video game industry too. A huge team works on a labour of love, and the game makes massive profits thanks largely to the dedication of the team working on it, sometimes against the wishes of executives, and executives celebrate their success by firing most of the people that worked on it, thereby making even more profit by saving the money they would have spent on their salaries, and milking said labour of love as a lifeless IP that no longer has the juice, because the people who loved it are no longer there or no longer have as much of a say. For a really tragic example of this, look what happened to the studio behind Disco Elysium, a game that brought up this exact point, how capitalism subsumes every critique of itself into itself and commodifies it. And then that exact thing happened. To them. We also need education about consent, being aware of behaviours to look out for, and especially teaching young men about consent, about what not to do, about what might be better, and how to better conduct themselves. And then there is the obvious answer that we should have a society that does not reward predators, and instead catches them as soon as they can, before they can do any more harm, and preventing them from growing more and more powerful. This is probably not possible while we are ruled over by literal friends of Jeffrey Epstein, but we should be aiming to build a world where we do not bend over for the rich and powerful and let them basically run the world. Perhaps they should not have that amount of money and power at all. Perhaps no one deserves to have the kind of money and power that lets you buy islands, run horrific cults on a sovereign nation's soil that somehow be made into a private reserve for the most corrupt in society, or to be able to influence their way further and further into the limelight over the bodies of hundreds of victims after decades of allegations and very few actual good movies.
Have sex, excel, put my hands against.
Perhaps I shouldn't stop with movies, actually, because this is not limited to the film industry. Patriarchy is everywhere. Very few fields are immune from coalescing into a clique of well-connected, powerful individuals who close ranks if they or their friends are affected. Most fields have open secrets, secrets that everyone knows, but people are terrified of putting into writing. When I was in academia, I saw bullies get away with things you would have never expected senior scientists to get away with people only getting outed once there were multiple people corroborating each other's stories, brave enough to dare to come out first and prepare for the possible backlash. Some of us went our own way and are pretty scared to even try to edge our way back into the field. Another person in my field was even in the Epstein files. More on that in an upcoming video, but regardless, needless to say, people knew, and people protected him. People I knew and respected, people incredibly high up in the field, reached out to him and tried to protect him from criticism. Many people did not believe this man's victims. I hear the same stories from so many different people in so many different sectors. In Hollywood, the scale is larger. These people have way more fame, way more notoriety, way more money than most other fields combined. They can therefore do much, much more harm more easily. But the seeds are there all over our current system. Patriarchy, misogyny, the tendency to victim blame, closing ranks around those in the in-group, the profit motive. These are things that we can deal with, but they will take time. We will need education, we will need to re-examine so much of how our society works, and to truly eliminate the profit motive, we will probably need to change the foundations of the system itself. But isn't it worth it to do that? For the safety, dignity, and happiness of all of us? To protect victims? To limit the ability of monsters to climb the ladder of profit and power we built our system on top of? To hurt countless people? Hollywood knew about Jared Leto. Hollywood protects monsters. But Hollywood is just one facet of the problem. The rot in the heart of the film industry is a symptom. You can treat symptoms as they pop up, over and over again, but as long as the cause remains, they will keep coming. And we, as a society, will keep getting sick. I think it's high time we start demanding that we take this fight to the cause.
It's Morbin time.
Hey, thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. If you like this video, give it a hype, give it a like, leave a comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, tell your friends about it, and then hit that hit that hype again, for good measure. For everything else, well, you can help me out. You can help me with my Wrath Month. Is it still Wrath Month when it comes out? If it's still Wrath Month, then it is my Wrath Month funding drive to get me out of my rut and into my own place and my own life once again. After I obviously, if you've heard the story before, if you watched the last video, but I cut all caffeine out to get on new ADHD meds. A few weeks came off, big migraines, mass psychological and physical withdrawal, was already horrible. And I've tried to sort things out. I'm okay now, I'm stable. I stabilized. But yeah, I can deal with stuff better now, I think, I hope. Now I'm back from the massive breakdown that I had. I would really, really like it if you could help me out. And please, 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 if you can, as many of you as can, join my Patreon as possible, or YouTube memberships, even if it's just a little bit. I've been back in the UK for like, well, if it's not Wrath Month, it'll be 9 months now. And I'd really like to get out of my overdraft and start being able to get out of my parents' house again and have a normal independent life and not turn 35 still feeling like I'm sort of hit another rock bottom. Even though it's not that, I know that it's fine, but to live there, but I don't want to, and I would like to get out of it, please. So if you want to help with that, if you can help me get my life back, you can give one-time donations on Coffee or PayPal. Links below as always, or please, 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 if you can, turn it to my Patreon or the YouTube memberships and help me get back on my feet before October, when I will become officially old. I don't know what officially old is. Probably way older than that, but it's a round number, and it's a round number that's every time I hit a round number, it's a bit existential, as I'm sure most of you know. And if you sign up to my Patreon or my YouTube memberships, you will get early videos, uncensored videos, access to members only Discord, Nintendo Switch friend code. That's I don't know why I said that like Sean Connery. Exclusive content, such as previous interviews with people I've had on the show before, and in addition to all the good stuff, you'll also get your name read out at the end of each video, just like these people who are the best and better than people who aren't at the end, unless they become at the end. There's my thing. I will call you a better person if you join. Okay. Violet Evergarden, Kamui, AX, Robert McCallan, Montana Schmidt-Bauer, Zach Beavan, Mia Miaski, Eva Kebab, Marty Hunt, Jane Lise Ferian, Melissa Allen, Sarah Francesca Smith, Lawrence M., Mongolian Shaman, Spurious Machinery, Tor Nielsen, Lulu Patterson, Scuzzbopper, T. Rook, Serena D., Karina Kiriakow, David Cropper, Harlow, Dini Muerta, ADHD, Dan-Shaped Blob, Achu, Graffitier _ Ekachu, Jonah Fart 2. Cat, read this fart noise out. Uncast Shadow of a Southern Myth, Rain, Will, Alexandra Barnes, ReeseNet, Ken Sorden. Hello, Kirsty. Yes, you, Kirsty. Hi, I'm talking to you. Can you hear me? Georgie, Calito del Mazzotti, Anna Nicholson, Dungeon Slime, Naomi Gorman, Melody, Heidi Law, Transform and Function, Cara Patching, Mattia98, Lilith Dawn, Spin Noir, Victor Lufgren, Gilda Gilded Dragon, A Slice of Cake, Rue, Maltium, Gina Service, You Are Made of Stupid, Tomo, Melissa Jackson, Ren, Brusier Stuff, Minstrel, of course, Jeffrion, Tom, the Not Quite So Brave as Sir Lancelot, Elafar, Tricoy, Adiela Proquar, Robin Rocks, Emily Eisenberg, Garlicscape, Carabino, Sparkling Heart, Corey, Gianna J, Mighty the Sword, Imogen Q, Luciana Frias Andrade, Adam, Harry, and 191, Quesadilla de Tortilla Azul, Leron, Adam Lees, Daniel Nevels, No Not That Paul, MB, Wandering Wonder, Ashley Murphy, Lex Phoenix, Enter Kurzitz, Mira D, Jade Senior, Boa EM, James W, Dick Vic, Deborah Boone, Zillas Athenaeum, Vince Whitaker, Amelia Dissett, J, Frank McManus, Susan Foster, Helen Real, Sierra Whiskey, Adaget Girl, John and Lloyd Luciente, Jason Crabtree, Raven Tempest, Shield Maiden, Robin Podolski. I don't know why I've been singing. It just started happening. Nightly Pushy Jesus, Manta Courtney Burmack, Sleepy Slug, Simmer Piglet, Brain Douche, Archie Wolf, Deanna McMillan, Carolyn Regalado, Alexandra Lilly, and Howard Lott. Thank you all so much for your help. You make my life, you make everything here possible, and I couldn't be more grateful. Please join these lovely people if you can. I love you all, but I love these ones more. See you on the next one.
Have sex, excel.